Do yourself a favor and read this article. But I thought Comicsgaters were the victims, not the hate mob, not the targeted harassers. No, this is disgusting. Bisexual Superman comic artist given police protection after hateful backlash and death threats. The creators of Superman, Son of Kal-El, in which the new Superman comes out as bisexual, have reportedly been given police protection after receiving death threats. Will you denounce the behavior that has caused these creators that you've demonized to need police protection?
Of course, anyone who threatens violence over comics is a piece of shit.
And you don't feel the least bit responsible for this targeted harassment?
Protesting the progressive agenda in comics shouldn't lead to violence. However, referring to your peers as Nazis when they aren't Nazis will almost definitely lead to violence being acted out against them, especially when "punch a Nazi" is your political slogan.
Give me your home address and give the police an actual reason to be concerned, because I will come to your house and I will blow your fucking face off your skull! That is a fact! Nazi piece of shit. Be seeing you at Gotham Pizza, motherfucker.
But protesting the progressive agenda in comics has led to these creators needing police protection. So...
Nope.
Hey, if you like this content, hit that subscribe button and join us.
It's like, what is this, Gamergate? Welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm Ethan Vance, Skyver, 28-year veteran of the comic book industry. And here we go. This is a really, really weird story. I don't even really know what to make of this quite yet. Was this whole entire thing a hoax? Was this a trap? Is this still a trap? Who even knows? But, okay, for those of you who don't know, about 3 weeks ago or so, DC Comics announced that Jonathan Kent, Superman, was going to be bisexual. They sent Tom Taylor, an Australian comic book writer who, was writing this book, Superman, Son of Kal-El, on a whirlwind media tour all over the entire world. He was on every single news network. He was being talked about by celebrities. He was talked about by Nigel Farage, who also just shook his head at this weird turn of events where DC Comics feels the need to make Superman into a guy who's attracted to men. And also, at the same time, Dean Cain came out too and was talking about this. Everybody made hay of this. Everybody kind of had a good time being sort of outraged by it. But we know why this is happening. I'm going to make another video about why, for those of you who are like, why is everything woke all the time? What's going on? I want to make a video, a short one, just to explain it to you. But anyway, I had already revealed this. I'd spilled this a long time ago. I got some insider information. I have a few carefully placed insiders at DC Comics who don't like what's going on there and who do feed me information. And I've given you that information. It's all turned out to be true. It's great. I mean, it's probably annoying them a little bit. So all of a sudden, and the next thing that DC did was they came out and they said, hey, Superman's slogan, truth, justice, and the American way, we're going to change that to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And they went on another whirlwind media tour about that. That went all over the place. People had different ideas about it. The left seemed to think largely that it was a really good progressive slogan because Superman belongs to the world. And the right and normal people kind of said, hey, why are you taking Superman's an American icon. He's an emissary. He's something that Americans can be proud of, that we've given to the world. Why would you take the American way out of his slogan like that? That is bizarre. Again, we know why that happened. It happened because it was a trademark issue, a copyright issue. They had to. That slogan became generic and they could no longer use it. But still, I mean, they took it out on tour and acted like this was some intentional thing that they meant to do for the good of everyone. And lo and behold, couple days ago, I start hearing from people, and of course I report on all of this. Everybody does. We all talk about this. Whenever DC does something stupid or inane, it's going to make the media rounds, and of course we cover it here on Comic Artist Pro Secrets. But in a very peculiar way, Comicsgate, which is the movement that I belong to. It's basically a group of people who are opposed to the leftist, radical left-wing agenda in comics, and we make our own comics and we comment on what's going on in the comic book industry. We were being blamed for this, not only by weirdos on Twitter like the one I just showed you, but TMZ actually mentioned us in their broadcast. I'm trying to get footage of that episode. They called Comicsgate the MAGA of comics, and I was kind of like, well, yeah, that's cool. But anyway, they blamed us for this alleged story. Now, we thought this was a really, really strange thing because, again, first of all, the creators of the Superman story, of this particular Superman story, the writer lives in Australia. The artist lives in Italy. The colorist of that Superman story defected and came over to Comicsgate. Who exactly were the LAPD allegedly protecting? And this is interesting because Bleeding Cool had to respond to this, and they write this article with a little bit of integrity, which again makes me feel like it's a trap. But I'm impressed by this. No, DC Comics police calls over bisexual Superman death threats. It didn't happen. A couple days ago, TMZ reported under the headline, Superman bisexual backlash spurs LAP protection for artist and studio, that LAPD officers were recently dispatched to patrol the homes of some of the illustrators, production staffers who created the latest iteration of Superman. The extra protection comes after major backlash that included some so-called fans making threats. We're told the pissed-off comic book readers inundated the studios to voice their displeasure with the character's newly announced sexuality. You would think there would be footage of this. You would think there would be any evidence of this. You would think... See, the thing about getting threats, the thing about being protested is both of those events leave behind receipts that are easy to present. You would see video footage of some kind of crowd of angry protesters in your studio or outside of your studio saying, Superman no gay. Or you would see, you could present actual documentable evidence of death threats like I've just done at the beginning. Again, this is the great thing about, somebody sending you a threat is you can actually present it. That's what social media is for. You should actually expose these people if they do come after you. Actual receiving threats leaves receipts. Where are those receipts? Just show them. And that's why this kind of didn't pass the smell test for me. It just sounded really weird, and it was bizarre that they were anxious to pin it on Comicsgate, and in one case specifically me. It just seemed a little bit like agenda, that's all. It just seemed like an agenda. Our sources say the studio called the LAPD, requesting patrols to keep an eye out, both at the private residences of some artists. What artists? The LAPD? The thing about this, again, the other part of the story that's weird is the idea that whoever came up with it has this notion that most comic book artists live in Los Angeles. We live all over the world. I mean, DC Comics can't even really afford American artists anymore. They're, mostly they hire out and abroad. They hire cheaper labor from other nations. That's what they're doing right now. The idea that comic book artists are all living LA lifestyles, Hollywood Hills, and the LAPD needs to patrol to protect their chalets. That's not really the case. That's not so weird. Who came up with this? Who started this? Anyway, both the private residences of the artists and of the studio itself. Again, there would be receipts. We would see footage. No footage. While nothing legitimate came up from the threats, our sources say cops still patrolled out of an abundance of caution, and that the situation has since settled down. You don't say. Anyway, Bleeding Cool, they say, checked with our own sources and found that, if true, none of the DC Comics people involved with the production of the comics seemed aware of it. And you would think they would be made aware of it. And that there was no sign of LA police being called. Keep an eye out over creators or staffers. Indeed, the writer of the comic book in question lives in Australia. The artist lives in Costa Rica. Oh, my mistake. I thought it was Italy. Which may be a little outside of the LAPD's jurisdiction. But who knows? LAPD, American police, they get it done. Anyway, but not for The Independent, the UK newspaper site who took TMZ's story and made it even more sensational and even less rooted in the truth, with a headline that read, DC Comics illustrators called police after receiving death threats over Superman's bisexuality. And, quote, the extra protection comes after major backlash that included some so-called fans making threats, an LAPD source said. Oh, an LAPD source is speaking out now. Writer Peony Herwani only cites TMZ rather than any other report, and it's not clear where the line about police responding to death threats came from, and Herwani did not respond to inquiries made yesterday. This is all an agenda. It's really, this reminds me of Gamergate. Comicsgate has never reached these heights yet. We've never been blamed on TMZ for death threats against progressives. It's never happened to Comicsgate. There's no reason for it to happen. In point of fact, we are the ones who received the death threats for just saying, hey, these comics are weird. What are all these crazy SJWs doing making these strange comics for DC and Marvel and Image? They're killing the comic book industry. We're the ones who received death threats for just saying things that everybody understands and everybody knows. Gamergate was all about like the perpetrators pretending they were victims. So there were people like Brianna Wu who were claiming there were snipers on buildings, like aiming little red dots at her forehead wherever she went. Yeah, that has not happened here. And see how I said she? I got the pronouns up. Very generous. It's that time of the year. I'm feeling like being kind. But that's never really happened to us until now. This is the first time we're being accused and blamed for alleged death threats against progressive. This is, mark this moment on your calendar, Comicsgate. This is heady stuff. We might get a little movie made about us. Who knows? Or an episode of Law & Order. That's what I would like. Anyway, checking the Wayback Machine shows no amend was made to TMZ's original story to remove mention of death threats. Lisa Wertsted at the Metro does similar, also using the death threat line as coming from TMZ, despite TMZ not reporting that. And Alex Hammer at the Daily Mail does likewise. This is journalism of the worst kind. And who is the victim? Comicsgate. Of course we are. A kiss is not a cause for death threats. No, of course not. We don't, We're just saying, hey, SJWs, what are you up to? Bleeding Cool understands that there have been death threats made against creators. By the way, bunch of death threats, alleged death threats made against other creators. I don't see me listed here. That's peculiar. I mean, everybody knows that my death threats were real and actionable. I didn't. They were violent. They were strange. One of them actually resulted in a place that I appeared at having a cinder block tossed through the window. No mention of me. That's fine. Nobody. Very peculiar. So anyway, all of this, all of this is a lie. All of it is a hoax. And I, unless this is another hoax, everything just feels like a weird trap. At this point, like we're supposed to go, haha, see, I told you, no death threats, and then suddenly DC Comics goes, no, there were death threats, and here are the receipts, and then we go, oh, whoops. I'm just gonna go ahead and just circle the bases on this one, though. In this case, I don't think there were death threats. The story was way too vague. It doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. And it really just seems like somebody who was upset at Comicsgate decided to invent this story, and the story blew up. It was a chance to blame Comicsgate, blame me in particular, get a little bit of revenge for the fact that we laughed over this story, and it was funny. It was pretty, it was pretty amusing. We did have a good chuckle at all of this. But yeah, once again, another fake victim. Another incident of SJWs being fake victims, which is what they are, while they victimize everyone else and the industries that they work for. I will say it again. Stop hiring these people. I understand, that you have to hire these people now. I understand that, projecting your social progressive values is how you get access to investor funds. I completely understand that. But this is the price that you'll pay, and enjoy that. Thanks, everyone. I'll talk to you again soon. Leave me a comment. What do you think of this story? What do you think of my suspicions? What do you think about what they're up to and who might have been responsible for this? And please thumbs up this video, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you again soon. I got to make another video about Muslims denouncing me today as a racist. I got to do that, so I'm going to do that immediately following editing this video. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, I got a P.O. box. Want to send me some mail? Send it to Ethan Van Sciver, P.O. Box 607, Marlton, New Jersey, 08053. And I'll probably open it up on the live stream. Thanks very much, everyone. Hey, you want to follow me on Twitter? Are you sure? Well, if so, I'm at Ethan Van Sciver. That's at Ethan Van Sciver. See you there.